and welcome back to Gapey's Garden. I thought I would show you the blueberries here that we decided to cage up this year to keep the birds out because they've been just hungry for blueberries this year. Everybody has been complaining about the birds this year, and a lot of people that have never netted their blueberries are netting them this year because of it. So initially we got this just regular cheap bird netting. It was like less than $10 on Amazon. We got the widest one we could find, which was 13 feet, and I can't remember how long it is, but it didn't quite cover all the way to the bottom, so we had this leftover green plastic kind of chicken wire or chicken plastic stuff that we put around one side so that would cover the rest of the bottom. We don't particularly like this type of netting though, because the birds get caught into it really easily. So you really have to stretch it tight, and that seems to help with keeping the birds out. But once you get onto the side, it's harder to keep it tight, especially on the ends. So we decided to get a different brand of bird netting that's a lot more, I think it's more of a plastic, really thick, and it's supposed to keep the birds from getting stuck in it. But so far we've had two, I think they were young robins, that got stuck in the bird netting and ended up strangling themselves because we didn't get to them in time. I did save one that had his feet tangled up on the side over here and was able to save that one. But we haven't had any more issues the last week or so, but I think we're going to go ahead and replace this bird netting with the other one that we just bought. And it's a little bit wider, so hopefully it will be big enough that it'll cover the whole thing. But we put up this frame. I think these are, I don't know, 1x2s or something, maybe less than that, but there's framing. I think there's one post on each corner, and then we have one in the middle, and then a framing around the top. And that seems to work pretty good to keep the netting away from the blueberries so it doesn't get stuck in there. So we're going to go ahead and get the netting replaced. So this bird netting is much better than the old one we had. It was a lot easier to get installed, and it didn't tangle up at all or get caught on anything. And I think the birds will not get caught up in this one at all. So on the ends we kind of bunched up the side here, and then I put this kind of piece of wood over it just to hold it down. So that'll keep them from getting in from the sides. And then on these ends, the long ends, on this side we use some landscape stakes. So there's a couple of these. I don't know if you could see that, but these are just these should be pretty easy to pull out. So these are the stakes that we used to get those secure on this side. And then if we ever need to get some berries out of here, it's really easy to get those out and get into the berries. And it looks like I'm going to need to do another harvest here pretty soon. There's a lot of berries that have ripened up over the last couple days. So we've got 2 or 3 of those stakes on this side, and then over on the other side we did something a little bit different. We put some nails into these flathead nails that we put into the side, and we just kind of secured the netting around that. Let's see if I can get this out. So there we go, and then we just hook that onto the end of the nail, and that keeps it secured down. So I'm not sure why we did it 2 different ways. We just figured we'd try something different on this side, and we've got quite a few nails on this side. Probably have more than we really need. There's probably 10 nails over here. But I think I'll probably go in from the other side to do my harvest, and it's tall enough that I should be able to get around pretty easily in there and get the berries out. So I will show you a little bit later how I harvest the berries. Alright, so it's been about a week and a half, I think, since I last picked out the blueberries out of these bushes. So there's a lot of them that I see that are ripening up already. So I'm gonna pick a few and show you which varieties that we have going on here. This one here, this whole row on this side is all about 4-year-old bushes that we planted not too long after moving in. And the ones that we decided to go with are Blueberry. So this one here, this is the most productive all of these have been. So we've got a lot of ripe berries here. These ones are pretty big. Most of the varieties I'm growing are a larger variety. So you can see how big these guys are. And this isn't even the largest ones that I have. Let's bring this over here. And then the one next to it, this is the Sunshine Blueberry. And this one is actually pretty popular around here. It's not exactly my favorite because the berries, one of the reasons is the berries are a lot smaller, which I guess is good for some things, but they just take longer to pick. But they are pretty sweet, and the branches, it's a relatively small plant, and I think this one is actually an evergreen, so it keeps its leaves over winter, but the branches fall to the ground a lot because they're not very tall. And it also gets, I don't know if it's called mummy berry or something else, but some of the berries on these end up not being, like you see all these falling off. They're not edible. These are all bad berries. I'm not sure why this one seems to get more of those than others, and usually they just fall to the ground. But I like to try and get these picked up so they don't contaminate the soil. But anyway, that's one of the problems I've had with this one. And actually these are pretty inconsistently sized, so you see this one is actually pretty big. But normally they stay pretty small on this variety. And then this one next to it is the Patriot. And this one gets the most beautiful colors in the fall, the leaves. It's actually a pretty small, a little bit small of a variety as well, but it's super productive. But I've already picked out most of these ones, so there's actually not too many more left on it. But we'll just pick a few of those. And then the one next to that is, see, this one is a Chandler, so this is the one that has the biggest berries that I have ever seen. So look at how huge these are. So I posted a picture of these on Instagram. But yeah, these things get humongous. But this is the biggest they've ever gotten. But they're pretty crazy. And then the one next to that is Brigida, and they get pretty decent size too. Get this netting out of the way. You can see there's quite a few still ripe and still not ripe in there. But that one's a pretty productive one. Let's see if we can go to the other side. I'm just gonna, and I have a rhubarb in here as well, which is not a good place for it, but I'm just haven't gotten around to moving it, so I have to trim that back pretty often. So this row, most of this row was planted by the previous owners. The only exception is this one here in the middle. This one is I think this is the second year. So this is, I didn't harvest any fruit off of it last year because I wanted it to get more root growth. So normally on blueberries you don't harvest on the first year, you just pick off the flowers. It'll take me a little bit of time to get all this off, so let me do that real quick so we can get a better look at the berries. Alright, that's better. Okay, so this one, like I said, these were planted by the previous owners and they didn't leave tags on them, so I'm not sure what some of them are. This one here on the end, it's also an evergreen, but it's It's a lot bigger than the other sunshine berry, so I'm not sure if that's what it is or if it might be something else. The leaves do seem to be a little bit bluer colored, so I think it might be something else. I did have a pink lemonade blueberry from the previous owners in this next spot, but I got that removed because it wasn't very productive and it was just taking up a lot of room. So this one here, let's see, what was it called? This one is the blue gold blueberry. So it just got one cluster of berries up here at the top. I picked some of them off already, but there's still quite a few on there. And then we have this next one. This is another one that gets a little bit smaller berries. So again, I'm not sure. I think one of these might be a Duke blueberry because they left a tag for a Duke blueberry, but I'm not sure which one that is, but it might be this one. And then this one next to it is a very small one. I think it's actually a top hat I think I found a tag for a top hat variety, and top hat is a dwarf blueberry, and that's the smallest one. And this is a pretty old plant, so I'm guessing they're probably around 6 years old. And I'm kind of tempted to get rid of it because it's very small, not very productive. As you can see, the berries are kind of smaller on the small side. But yeah, it's definitely a very small dwarfish plant. And then next to that is another pink lemonade. And this one, for some reason this year, did not produce any flowers. It might have been the late cold snap we had. I'm not sure, but there's no flowers, so I don't think it's definitely not going to get any berries this year. And in general, from most of the people that I know that have this variety, it's just not a productive variety, at least not in our climate. And I forgot to mention this evergreen that's over here on the end. That one also didn't produce any berries this year. It did last year, so I'm not sure what's going on this year. But all the other bushes have been super, super productive this year. So I'm not sure why those two on the end are just not doing it. But anyway, I just wanted to show you what varieties I've got going on in here and show you what they look like. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.